jeez. That's so pale.
She's always cold despite the weather. She needs sun. She's so pale. You think she's had enough? It's not enough. She always wants more. She always wants more of my leather and my fur and my nails.
Hi guys, my name is Billy and I'm a silly and this is Billy's Silly, and today I want to talk about something a little more personal. On April 4th I got a IUD, intrauterine device. It's a form of birth control and I never got it before, and I know some people like to look up videos like this to see what it's going to be like when they get it inserted, so I'm going to talk about that. So, warning, this is about lady stuff, so if you're not comfortable about that, see you next video hopefully. But I'm gonna try to be as close to accurate as I can without getting too terribly graphic. I know that might be a problem, but yeah. So I'll start off with why I chose Skyla. Skyla is the smallest of the IUD insertion methods, and it's made for people like me who've never had a child before, never really done anything like that. So I figured it was the best method. I don't know how it went with everyone else, but my health insurance covered it, so I was like, oh yeah. The day before I got my Skyla insertion, beforehand, the doctor asked me, my doctor asked me when I finished my period to call them, so I did, and they said, okay, the best time to get it inserted is right after your period because that's when your cervix is the softest. Anatomy words. So I called them, and then 2 days later I went to get it inserted, and the day before he called in a pill, well, two pills for me to take. One I was to take at exactly 3 and one I was to take at exactly 9. I took both of them and he said it was to help soften my cervix. The next day I came in to get it inserted. It was just I was a little nervous. I wasn't too nervous, so it didn't matter. Before I got the pill they were like, are you absolutely 100% sure that there's a 0 chance that you could be pregnant? And I was like, yeah. After that I showed up to the doctor's appointment. And they did the whole layback stirrups thing, and then they had the little clampy windy thing. I can't remember what it's called. Speculum, I think? I don't know. But they did that, and I was like, okay, this isn't too bad, you know. It's not killing me or anything. I mean, I have a pretty high pain tolerance, so it probably wasn't much for me, but then again I have a high pain tolerance. And they had Skyla in this little tube thing that was about probably that thick, honestly, about the size of my pinky, and it was attached to this little gun looking thing. I'm not very descriptive, sorry, but that's what Skyla was in. It was in this little tube, and that kind of hurt, but it was more uncomfortable than hurting. It's like when you really have to go to the bathroom. But it was like that. It was putting so much pressure on the rest of my body that I was just like, oh, this doesn't really hurt, but it is super uncomfortable and I wish it would stop. The whole thing probably took about 5 minutes. And within those 5 minutes afterwards, they were like, okay, you can sit up. We're not going to... I don't think they told me to sit up actually. But another thing that freaked me out is they had these... gauze and these clampy scissors. I know the name to it, I just can't remember it. But they cleaned my cervix and everything before they inserted it, as they should have. So, but when they pulled it out, it was covered in blood, and I was like, I'm about to die. So that's the only thing that really freaked me out. It wasn't too painful, but afterwards they told me to just lay back for a little while, let everything settle, I guess. And that's what I did. It wasn't bad. I heard that cramps started, and they did about 10 minutes later after they made sure everything was okay. And then About 10 minutes later, I was in the car with my mom. We were driving back, and I said, please tell me you brought pain medication, because it was some really bad cramps. Like, but it wasn't anything worse than I've ever had, because I've had periods that were really bad, and that's pretty much what it was. It was just like a really bad period cramp. And then I actually downloaded to make sure that it would be more accurate. I got my IUD inserted on the 4th, and from that day onward it was just spotting. And then I got my period at the regular time, but it just didn't stop until I switched over to a pill birth control. And then that kind of helped because it stopped. Then I got a regular period, but it only lasted a couple of days, and since then it's pretty much stopped. But since then it's just the average spotting that one would see, I guess. It's pretty much stopped altogether now, and I haven't gotten my period. I didn't get my period for June, so yeah. But I guess not, because I was still spotting pretty frequently, and it wasn't even like fresh blood. It was that type of gross, dead period type stuff. Where it's brown. Sorry, it's gross. I don't think I've really had any sort of side effects so far, other than the horrific spotting that was like getting so annoying because I was so tired of wearing pads when I wasn't on my period. But the spotting lasted for about a month until I could go back. He checked my IUD to make sure it was still in place, like it hadn't phased through a wall. Danny Phantom style. And made me bleed out of nowhere. But yeah, my period though was more painful. The first period I got, I thought I was gonna die. Just because it was so extremely painful. Like, those were the worst cramps I've ever had in my life. I felt them all the way up. Like, my sides even hurt because it was cramping so bad. And that's never happened to me before. Or since, really. If you're lucky, your period will stop, so I think that might have happened for me, or it might just be a side effect of all the spotting I've been having. But the spotting has stopped. I finished my last round of birth control, so maybe the spotting will come back. Maybe the birth control helped with that. I don't really know. It all depends on basically who you are, because every woman's different. Not everyone stops their period when they get an IUD. Not everyone spots, probably, well, within the first 3 months, I would think. But from April to July, beginning of July now, it's been pretty okay. I read online that spotting can sometimes last up to 6 months, so I'm really grateful that it only lasted as long as it did. That may also be just because I took birth control. Like I said, I don't know, every woman's different, so I think so far it's been worth it yet. I haven't really gotten to try out the effectiveness of this. This is funny, my parents don't watch my videos. So, yeah, but I think it is one of the most convenient methods of birth control, just because, like, I have the worst memory possible. That's why I downloaded Spot On in the first place, is because I couldn't remember to take my pill. So that would have happened on top of my terrible luck. I would have like 20 kids by now. Below. Oh yeah, one more thing I forgot to mention that freaked me out, and the main reason I contacted my gynecologist was because, okay, this is gonna get really graphic and gross for just a second, so like, sorry. But some sort of spongy gray, like, skin type thing just fell out, and I was like, what are you, a piece of my uterus? And he didn't really say anything about it, so I'm like, it hasn't happened again since I've been taking my birth control, so maybe it was a one-time thing. Maybe my IUD tore something and is now wreaking havoc inside of me. I don't know, we'll just have to see. From what I've seen, Nothing bad's really happening. The spotting is gone, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy. Another thing were the strings. They were kind of an issue. At first I had to like kind of search for them, and then not recently, but a little while later, I think after my period, they were almost like hanging out. That sounds so gross, I'm sorry. But that's just what happened, so I was like, what? I haven't checked them in a long time though. So, who knows? Might be halfway to Venus for all I know. But yeah, I think that's all. If you have any questions about Skyla or anything like that, just put it in the comments.